All right, got two new rhythms here and then some new chord stuff. So we're also going to try something a little bit different in terms of what we do after being maxed out. So I can tell you definitely got the right idea with things. As you get into those higher speeds, it is a bit shaky. Like sometimes you're on, sometimes not so much. But overall, I do get the sense that you know you know what you're trying to do. And it's just, yeah, when you get closer to that 200 range, that's when things start to get a little shaky. So, one important thing to remember is never chase the speed, chase the accuracy. Always focus on the accuracy. So, in terms of like, speeding things up, getting faster, like you basically already know the principles behind how to do it. You start it slow to make sure that you play it correctly. You're learning the patterns, you're getting it in the muscle memory, all that stuff, and then you just gradually push it faster and faster and faster, and you know we will reach speeds eventually where, like especially with the picking hand, you're gonna have to change like how you move a little bit in order to go faster, and that's fine. There's some little experimentation that you have to do to figure out like how fast, or not how fast, sorry, I just saw a mistake in the rhythm here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I saw that threw me off. um yeah, well, like when I'm picking really fast, I can't strum the same way as I would a bit slower, so eventually you'll have to change those things up a bit. But the main thing is making sure that it sounds good. So anyway, where am I going with this? Yeah, chase the accuracy, making sure that it sounds tight the whole time. Now, one thing that I did here sometimes was extra strings ringing out, so you got to be careful that, especially when you're playing on, like, starting on the A string for the root note, you're not having those strings, ringing out, whether you accidentally hit the open ones, maybe you bar a little bit too hard with the index finger. So you just want to be careful that you're only hearing those strings that you're holding or that you intend to play. So like if you're playing an open A5, you're not holding all three strings, but those are the only three that you want to hear. So basically, what you intend to hear should be the only thing that you hear. So sometimes that's just a matter of muting things a little better with that left hand. That's usually what it is anyway. So just be careful of that. When you hear extra strings ringing out, make sure you stop right away, correct your hand. So like, let's say you move into a chord and you're like, whoops, I'm hearing strings. Adjust your hand, strum the chord again, so this way you feel exactly how it should feel for when it sounds the best, and then start that take over again. So yeah, I want to try, and I'm doing this with pretty much everybody moving forward for most things right now, because the main thing we're trying to do currently is gain control. We're trying to gain control of the strumming, hand position, how the hand moves, all that stuff. So instead of doing repetitions at the end, we're just going to work up more stuff all at once and simplify the process. I want to see how this goes. So about 10 to 15 minutes is what you're going to work on per rhythm. And even if it feels like you can go faster, stay within the time limit. It's there to not only have a structure, so you're not overdoing anything, because we have like an even amount of time for all things. It's also there to make sure that maybe you don't try and go for that higher number too soon. Throughout the days of practice, you should be able to reach higher speeds in less time as you get used to this. That's kind of the idea. So like say maybe the first day you only get up to 150 within the 10 to 15 minute range. Well, then the next day you might get up to 160 or 170 because you made less mistakes getting there. So remember, we're focused on control. And I like to say, think of speed as a byproduct of playing accurately at faster and faster tempos. because we don't want to sacrifice accuracy for the sake of going faster, because just because you go faster doesn't mean you played it right. It says if you're trying to go faster and you're playing it all sloppy, well, you didn't play it. You didn't play it right. So when it comes to technique building, my thing is either it's all correct or it's all garbage. Throw it out. Throw it out. Band practice stuff, that's a different story. But technique building, yeah, because remember, only perfect practice makes perfect. So you just be extra careful, extra cautious when you get up closer to 200. Really feel confident. You're like, yep, nailed it. There's no way that was wrong. Feel like that. There's no way that was wrong. And then you can increase it. So yeah, after the 10 minutes comes up, when you're practicing these, just start thinking you got to get one more really solid take, and then you can move on to the next thing. All right, that being said, we have a different rhythm every bar here for the first 4 bars. And then we repeat those different rhythms again. So these are the previous 4 rhythms that you practiced, that you learned, all in one thing. So here's a really great example to make sure you count out loud from 60 to at least 120, because saying it is going to make this way easier. Even just starting off by practicing counting before you even add the chords. Fantastic idea. So maybe just try that right now. Count along with me when I play it. And until you can say this comfortably, don't add the chords. Make sure you can say it comfortably before you add all the strumming, okay? I think it's a really helpful thing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, 1, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 4, 1, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, and all right, 120. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Remember, if you don't reach 240, that's okay. Get where you can. Just get where you can. Like 240 is like, if you get there, then you don't need to keep going up. But you were welcome to do so. That's just like a send things in early speed. But remember, chase the accuracy, not the speed. Don't just try and go for 240 to hopefully get it. We got to know that you got it. So patience is very important. All right. Here is the 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, number 2. So this rhythm is going to be working on kind of like training you for a really weird thing. So just kind of a heads up. All the more reason, say it, say it, say it, say it, say the rhythm. So we're in a 3/4 time signature this time. So we're just going to be counting 1 and 3, 1 and 3. Strumming is always going to go down, up, down, up, down. So we really want to lock into that and get comfortable with it, because it's going to help one of the rhythms coming up. Basically, we're going to be doing a polymeter. Talk more about that when we get there, but with your background you might already know what it is. But here we go. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 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 3, 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, chord stuff. So when working on this, we have the goal of getting just one solid take for each progression, or each line, I should say, because we're really just playing the same progression in 4 different ways. And this is using some of those shapes that you had written out. So basically, start working on this guy when you feel like you can play it pretty well. Go ahead and record that, send it over. And same thing here, once you can play that pretty well, record it, send it over, and so on. So we do have open chords over here, and I still consider these movable shapes even though they're in the open position. But that's because, like for example, this E minor. Whoops. Just change over to this. Well, we can just move everything up 1 fret, turn it into a bar chord, and now the shape itself is movable. So just because it's open doesn't mean it's not a movable shape. Now if I did something like this, well, that's open, but it's not very movable. So that would not be a movable shape. Or like this one here. That's a much nicer chord. That's not a movable shape. That is. So, yeah, just because it's open doesn't mean it's not movable. But I do have this in the high octave as well, because I thought it'd be a good idea. So here we go. Yeah, so we got a 6, 2, 3, 7 progression. And we want to make sure we get those repeats in there. So basically the idea with this is kind of seeing how you can go from one chord to the next in a short distance, because we're trying to keep everything close to each other. So you can do this with a metronome to help. Know whatever speed is comfortable. Of course, 60 is always a great idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick it however you want. Like you could do all downstrokes. I like to go like down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 up. Picked it a little bit different that time. There we go. So yeah, so I'm going down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 up. So basically, I'm just kind of letting the pick fall wherever. Some people might want to alternate pick the whole time, and you can. That'll certainly work on alternate picking, but it makes it way harder, I feel. I'll try it for this next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not necessary, though. I think it makes it harder than it needs to be. So that's the idea for the other two as well. Just kind of up and down. I want to point out though for this one. Now normally, I'm trying to think about like how these things are mapped out, like root note to root note. So like you got the A there, D here, E here. Now I might some instances try and play like the B note here, so this way I'm going just down a whole step on the same string to get to that chord. Problem with this though is like you could play the B diminished like this, but that is a very uncomfortable shape, so I don't like doing that one. You could also do it like this, but going into this shape and then back to this one, because I'm starting with this, it kind of changes the way I was thinking about the layout. So basically I'm kind of going between, you know, I could do this shape, which really I did, or I could have started with this one, but I like this minor shape on these strings, so I started with this one, which leads really well into that, and then going into this, I feel that's a much easier transition going from here to here versus here to here or here. So again, I'm thinking about like how to make it easy going from one chord to the next, keeping it compact, simplifying going from one chord to the next. And then there's going to be one other example, another chord progression doing a similar thing for you to practice once you get through all these. And then you're going to have blank guitar profiles with the Roman numerals listed, and you're going to figure out where to go. So yeah, this whole idea is to help you think about how you can go from one chord to the next and keep things playable, simple for yourself, things like that. So that's why I went with that B diminished down there instead of going up here or that. Because yeah, I just felt like this was much easier to play. Very similar to the original progression. We're just playing the A minor up here versus down here. And then for the ending there, oops, that needs to be a 7, not a 5. Good thing I saw that. Yeah, just resolving to the root note there. Okay, I think that covers it. So any questions come up, let me know, and I'll see you again in your new videos.